23.
Dennis, in the old days of pot black, Eddie Charlton would probably just about have broken off by now.
I think they'd still have been tossing the coin. That was a great line. Sidney Lee, who used to referee all the pot blacks, he was a great professional as well with Sidney, but I remember
29.
making a mistake once, and John Spencer was playing Eddie Charlton. He tossed the coin and he said, "John Spencer has won the break and will toss." Got it the wrong way around.
30.
Doesn't rush.
Who do you fancy for the trophy itself?
Permanent,
Yeah.
permanent one of two.
Yes, toss the coin again. Right, well, this is what they're playing for. It's the Pot Black Cup. Now, you may not know that Steve Davis has won this particular little beauty 3 times. And in fact, he's one of 3 men, 2 of whom are sadly no longer with us. Australia's Eddie Charlton and John Spencer, who sadly passed away only 8 weeks ago. In July, the snooker world was saddened by the news of the death of John Spencer after a battle against stomach cancer. Spenny was world champion in 1969, 71 and 77, and 3 times pot black winner. He was as renowned for his sportsmanship and sense of humour as he was for his skill and touch at the table. And together with Ray Reardon and Alex Higgins, was a key figure in the sport's huge rise in popularity in the 60s and 70s.
Those are the days.
Well, I'm gonna
You've got to
do
do
the
it. You
same.
have to do it.
Although I might do it again.
Well, I won't again.
Obviously, I've got tremendous respect for him. Wonderful world champion, 3 times world champion, great ambassador for the sport, a wonderful gentleman, a lovely human being. I went to his funeral. It was very sad. He will be sorely missed by snooker.
It's quite well known that John Spencer was the first player to make a competitive 147 at the professional level, but unfortunately the television cameras were on tea break. That was back in the 70s. I made the first televised one that was actually shown against John Spencer. And I don't remember him ever moaning or complaining about it. He shook my hand at the end and we had a glass of champagne at the end of the match, and you know, he didn't have a side to him. You know, he was always he'd be very respectful of anybody's abilities, and was a great sportsman as well. He didn't like bad sportsmanship.
Spencer's later career was blighted by the eye disease myasthenia gravis, but he kept playing until 1992, also working as a television analyst and sports commentator. An active member of the sport's governing body, he served as chairman for 6 years.
138.
All the while, he campaigned tirelessly to raise awareness and funds for the Myasthenia Gravis Association. And last year, he discounted advice from his doctors to take part in a charity skydive with the Red Devils.
I played him in the pot black final, as a matter of fact, back in the 20s it must have been. And my main memories are when I played him when he was sort of finishing towards the end of his career, and he never ever complained about what happened. He wasn't playing at his best, you know, but he's very sporty in that respect.
I think the tribute that he would have liked more than anything else was the fact that he loved life, class act. That was John Spencer.
And I think that's how we'll always remember Spenny, with that big grin on his face. What do you think, John, will be the greatest contribution that Spenny will have made to the game?
He was of that new era, wasn't he, that went to the Crucible and started off and brought snooker to prominence, obviously with the Pot Black trophy we've been talking about. He was probably one of the greatest long potters. He just started a long pot enough, and he could big screw backs, and he always played with a smile on his face. I remember seeing him as a very young lad. I went to the Crucible and he was playing in the year he won there. And I always remember that match we played there with Cliff Thorburn, I think it was. And a great break builder. 2-piece cue. That was one of the things he first introduced. Those they were made in Japan. He started playing with one of those, never been heard before. But a great player and break builder. And he was in my camp when I won the World Championship, so I'll always remember him fondly. I passed messages over to Jean, his wife, a couple of days before. I was sadly on holiday when he passed away, but I spoke to her a couple of days beforehand, and I hope he got the message I sent.
Well, I'm afraid we have some other very, very sad news to impart today, because snooker's lost one of its true characters, another one of its true characters, Peter Dyke. Now, you may not know Peter very well, but
He died sadly this morning. He was in world promotions and he was the driving force behind taking the World Championship to the Crucible in the 70s. He was a huge personality. Everybody here loved him. He was great fun to be with, and we're extremely sad at his passing, and I'm sure we would all send our condolences and our love to his lovely wife Sheila. Peter Dyke, who passed away today. Now, the final of the Pot Black Cup is coming up in about 20 minutes' time. But before that, we're going to turn our attention to football, because not long to go either before the first competitive match for England under new coach Steve McLaren. It's against Andorra. They're kicking off at 5 o'clock, and as ever, our man in the camp, Garth Crooks.